Hello, 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 and welcome to a bonus episode of the Cooler Guild. I am Coop, your host, and I'm joined here with my co-host Van.
What's up?
We are recording this episode on Saturday, June 8th, 2024. Since the rain were off for international break, in today's episode, we'll be discussing a variety of happenings in WOSO women's soccer over the past week, including the U.S. women's national team wins against South Korea. But before we dive into all the football, soccer, whichever term you want to use, we wanted this episode to serve as a little intro, kind of about us and just like our backgrounds, how we met, and our history with the Seattle Rain, even though we're not going to be discussing a ton about them today.
You want to talk about how we met?
Yeah.
And how old were we? Were we 18?
No, we were still in high school.
Oh,
I was like 16.
I must have been 17. Yeah, because I was working at the mall.
I didn't know you worked at the mall.
Yeah, I worked at the mall.
What
Great
did you
times.
what did you do at the mall?
I worked at PacSun.
Oh, that's fitting,
Yeah.
especially for that year, because I think it was like 2006.
Yeah, and I went to the fair with a girl
Mm,
that I worked with.
mm.
We went to the Puyallup Fair, and somebody invited me to like a house party or apartment party that was happening up in Kent. And so we went up to that, and you were at that party.
Yeah, so we met at a back then the lesbians would, would gather at like a random town in the Seattle area for a party, like I don't know, maybe once a month or something like that. We were both at this party in Kent next to Carpenito's brothers. I think like the person whose apartment we were at, she was 21.
Yeah.
And I mean, like everyone, I feel like it was just a gathering of lesbians from everywhere. I don't,
Yeah, it was just the most random group of people. I don't even remember like adding you on Facebook.
no.
I don't know when that happened, but the cops came. Like there was a knock on the door and we all freaked out. And I was like, I can't get in trouble. And so we all hid in the bathroom.
Yeah. There's a
And I
picture of it.
yeah, I was like hiding in the shower, like the tub in the shower. And I think somebody was like under the sink. It's weird, but like they came and the girl was like, "Sorry, we'll keep it down." You know, the person that owned the house or that owned the apartment, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, we'll keep it down," and they left. And we were all like, "Oh my God, we escaped! We got out of it!" And then we took a picture of the entire group of us in the bathroom.
Yeah, which if I could post the photo somewhere if someone's interested, but the photo is funny because I had like two of like my guy friends there, but because it was what 2006, like
Yeah,
guys and the lesbians of that area all kind of looked the same. So
it was the Bieber era.
yeah, so they were both like, in there. They totally had just two lesbians also hiding in the bathroom.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't we briefly met there. I was aware, I think that you like soccer and
Yeah.
we might have been friends on Facebook or like I just saw you across, I'm not sure. But eventually we became friends on Facebook and I had like seen a commercial for the Sounders like when they were introducing their team name and that was like my first introduction to like local soccer.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I went to the first game and I knew that you were a huge Sounders fan, and so I reached out to you about going to a game, and then we started hanging out
Yep.
like a lot more and going to different games.
Yeah, talking about soccer. And yeah, that was 2009.
Yeah,
So we're going on 15 years now.
yeah, time flies. Jeez. I mean, well, not only that, but like we've known each other. I would think I was 16 at that party, and I'm like in my 30s now. So yeah,
It's over half our lives.
yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I knew of the Sounders because my dad's always been a big soccer fan. So I grew up watching mostly men's soccer. You know, we always had to get like the weird Dish Network subscription where we could get like these Spanish channels to watch soccer. But I went to my first professional soccer game when I was less than a year old. My dad took me to Tacoma Dome to watch Tacoma Stars play.
That's fun.
And yeah, we would go up to Sounders games, and there wasn't a lot of women's soccer, but in I think it was 97, my dad took me to a US women's national team game in Portland. They played at University of Portland, and there's maybe a couple thousand people there. He bought me a hat, and we got to meet some of the players, and it was just like my mind was blown.
Yeah.
And I played growing up as a kid, didn't play in college because I was terrible at school, but just kept following women's soccer. We went to my dad took me to I think it was like the Road to Pasadena games. So it was like a send off tournament for the 99 Women's World Cup.
Oh man.
And we drove down. My parents had a Eurovan, like one of those Volkswagen camper vans. My dad drove me down in that, and we spent the night in the van and then woke up in the morning and tried to find somewhere to park by, I think it was at that point, I think it was like Geldwin Field, which now is Providence Park. But and we had to move the van. Somebody came out and like, you can't leave your van here. You can't park here. And we're like, ooh, okay. So my dad found some street parking in front of this restaurant and went to the games. It was really fun. Canada was there, US was there. And we walked back to the van. My dad had bought me this Mia Hamm white t-shirt. And we walked back to the van, and the restaurant that we had parked outside of the street parking had like a little fence up, and there was like a massive, like giant soccer ball in it. And we were like, what is this? And then this van pulls up, and the entire Canadian women's national team hops off. And so I'm just like a 10-year-old kid just being like, oh my God, amazing. And then who was it? It was Julie Foudy and Joy Fawcett walk up. And I'm like, oh my God. My dad's like, have them sign your shirt. And he like handed me a Sharpie and signed my shirt. My dad's got his little camera and taking pictures. And I was just so enthralled with it all that the lady that was working the door was finally just like, just come in. I got in. I remember the first person I talked to when I got in was Anson Dorrance, who is a coach at University of North Carolina. And he at the time was talking to, I can't remember, some other coach. But then I saw Michelle Akers and I went over to Michelle Akers. Michelle Akers signed my shirt. Anyway, I ended up meeting the entire team,
Oh man.
having them all sign my shirt. My dad took a picture with every single player that signed my shirt. And of course, they went on to win the 99 Women's World Cup. I didn't go to any of those games, but watched them all, and that definitely like changed how I felt about, the sport in general, and that women could be successful at it. So the 99ers were my root in that sense.
What an intro.
Yeah.
For that. I don't think you've ever told me that story
Really?
either, so that's pretty
Oh, I've got a
not like
photo.
the whole
I've got a
thing.
photo album with all the pictures of me and the players, and I still have that shirt. It's in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I've definitely seen some of the pictures, but you haven't ever told me the whole story.
yeah,
That's cool.
but yeah, I played growing up, played rugby at Western, and then played rugby in Seattle for a while, but still kind of played soccer off and on. And then when I moved back to Olympia, where I'm from, the coaching staff at my local club reached out and was like, oh, I see you're back in town. Do you want to coach?
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? I'm not doing anything else. So I coached for a couple years, played for we have the NWPL, which is Northwest Premier League, which is just kind of like a local adult league. Played in that league. And then the club that I currently work for, which originally known as Old Town FC, started a women's indoor program and played in that. COVID happened. And then we were awarded a USLW franchise. And the ownership from the club was like, hey, would you be interested in being the general manager of this team? And I said, yes. And 2 years going on, we went to national playoffs last year, went undefeated. We're currently undefeated now. Got a game tonight. Should be
Who are you
fun.
playing tonight?
Playing Tacoma,
Okay.
the other Washington team.
Okay. I feel like you looked at the schedule. I thought it was tomorrow,
No, it's
but
today.
I was just making sure we were good for recording. So,
But yeah, so I'm still involved in soccer now and love watching the rain, even though it breaks my heart every time.
yeah.
What about you? What's your story?
So my intro to women's soccer was much later. My first like introduction to the sport, because I didn't play. I played like in third grade when everyone plays, and I wasn't good. I was too short, and my feet are not good. I just broke my other ankle doing yard work.
No, you're getting old,
I
Win.
know. And I broke my other ankle 2 years ago, like walking. So my career probably wouldn't have been very long lived had I tried. But anyways, I don't know, custody with my parents was kind of weird growing up. But my dad lived out in Brazil one summer, and I went out to see him in the summertime. And we were flying in to Sao Paulo during the Men's World Cup when they won it, but we were flying into it as they qualified for the final, and you could see down in the streets just, I mean, they played over the speakers in the airplane like the final 5 to 10 minutes of the game for everyone on board. And when they won the game, like the entire plane just like jumped down from just excitement. And then I had like a window seat, so you're like looking out the window, and I mean, the streets are just completely flooded with people. And I was,
I feel like they did that airplane thing with didn't they do that in Australia when they did that? I remember seeing pictures of like Qantas
yeah,
flights
yeah.
having like the end of they just turned all the TVs on the seat backs onto that
Yeah,
game.
it's kind of like I wish you could replicate that experience a lot easier because it is like pretty
It
cool.
had to be surreal.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Touchdown. I mean, it was just utter party and chaos, but like the best of way. And I was like, huh, I didn't realize people felt this way about soccer. But that cut to a few years later, and then the Sounders got announced. I told kind of briefly about that. Got into them. After that, I, got into the Men's World Cup for South Africa, which was a great time. And I was watching that like around the clock. And I was like, that ended and I just felt this void. But the good news was the Women's World Cup was the next year. And that was my first intro into women's soccer, which, they didn't win that World Cup. That was the 2011 Women's World Cup where
Hmm.
they lost to Japan. But that World Cup was just so
That semifinal, we talk about it
constantly,
constantly.
constantly. I like,
I mentioned it. I mentioned it. Stephanie Cox, who is on that roster, was at our game last week. She's a supporter of our club and just all around amazing person. And when I saw her the first time I met her a couple months ago, I was like, when you and I were at the gala for my
mm-hmm,
club, we were literally just talking about that game.
mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that World Cup was so crazy.
I was on Rachel Maddow's show that year.
As a speaking guest.
No,
Okay, I'm joking.
no,
You were in the
they were
bar, right?
showing like bar footage from
Mm-hmm.
different places reacting to Abby
Mm-hmm.
Wambach scoring
Oh
in overtime.
man.
And I was on the footage from Boundary Bay Brewing where I was watching the
Uh,
game in Bellingham.
that's
And I
so
was like, I've
great.
done it. I've made it to the Rachel Maddow show.
Yeah.
My life is semi-complete.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that World Cup, and we were already friends at that point.
Yeah, we were friends.
And we were talking about it. I remember that.
Yeah. I mean, that was like the intro for me to like the U.S. Women's National Team, which was just like Megan Rapinoe, Abby Wambach, Amy Lepelbet, Hope Solo. Marta was at that World Cup. Like, I don't know that you could have gotten like I couldn't have gotten a better intro to, I mean, maybe the 99ers, obviously, but I feel like I was at the right age maybe to take it all in. It was
Right.
still like kind of overwhelming to like learn all this stuff. And I'm still learning about a lot about the sport and everything. I feel like it's just like a never ending thing.
That's what's so cool about it. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been in and around it my entire life. I'm 35 now and I still don't know everything.
Yeah.
It's that's I love the game,
Yeah.
and one of the things to love about the game is that there's always something new to learn.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, and then I don't know, I watch men's sports. I still watch the Sounders. I love the Sounders, but there's just something so special about watching women play at a high level, especially when you can see representation of yourself on the
Yeah.
field. Like when I saw Abby Wambach and I saw Megan Rapinoe and Amy Lepelbet, I was just like, this is like this feels more special to me.
Yeah, and especially as like a queer person, I
Yeah.
remember being at the final in 2015 in Canada, and after they won, they on the big screens there in BC Place, the video camera was on Abby Wambach, and she went and kissed her then wife, and it was
Yeah.
on these huge screens,
Yeah.
and I was just like, oh my God, we're here, we've made it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's like one of the greatest joys, I think, following women's soccer because it's just like you don't get these kinds of things
You don't
with
get these storylines in men's
no,
sports. You don't
no.
just the way that we are able to see ourselves in these players,
Mm-hmm.
especially now being, at retirement age.
Mm-hmm.
If we were players, we would be well, I'm still kind of play, but like I'm not a
Goalkeeper.
professional.
Yeah.
But like you're at this time and you're like, that's like exactly who I want to represent me, like on a public scale.
Yeah.
Like, take Megan Rapinoe, for example. There's
Yeah.
nobody better. Like that we got so lucky with her.
I know. I always think about that because she wanted to go to Portland and didn't end up that way because Portland got already had so many names and they had to kind of divvy them up in the league. So we ended up with her and it couldn't have worked out better for her as well.
I
Seeing
miss
how
her.
she's, I know,
I
I
miss her
know.
so much.
Yeah. So I guess maybe the next part that I want to talk about is did you go to that US game, like the game that they did like a send off before the Olympics the next year when they all joined like the Sounders women?
No, I didn't go to any of those games, but one of our assistant coaches, Kellen
Yeah,
Green, here at FC Olympia, she played for the Colorado team
that's funny.
and played up here in Seattle against Alex Morgan, like
Yeah,
Megan
yeah, I went
Rapinoe.
to
Oh,
that
you went
game.
to it. I don't think you've ever told me
Yeah,
that.
so I got yeah, I went to that game because like the World Cup had just happened and I was like, oh God, how do we not have like how can I not see these players? And so then that got announced and I bought tickets and I went with my, quote unquote ex slash roommate, whichever term, she decides she wants to use. But I got tickets for that and we went to that. And it had like Steph Cox was there, Rapino was there, Alex Morgan, Sydney LaRue, Hope Solo, Keelan Winters were like all on the Sounders women's team for like what a couple weeks, maybe, just to like prepare for like the Olympics. So
Yeah, they
that
played
was
a full
wild.
season. That was the original USLW league. It
Yeah.
disbanded, I think, in 2015. But yeah, the league that I work in now, that they played in that original league.
And then after that, it like got announced, the NWSL got announced like shortly after all that happened. And my ex slash roommate, like I had season
Yeah.
tickets for the Sounders, so she bought the season tickets for the Rain, and we went to like every home game that they had. I think we might have made a trip down to Portland maybe for one of those matches, but we went to every home game despite them being like the
They were
worst.
bad.
They were really bad. I mean, they had some
And we would see each other there.
yeah, they had some big names that were out with injuries and coming back from stuff, so it wasn't like totally surprising how bad they were. But yeah, I like looked up the record on Wikipedia, and that season they went 5-14-3. But I was still
It was
there.
a rough intro, but we were still
It
there.
was. Yeah, but the funny thing was is that I would like because like Laura Harvey, this is all at Starfire. So like if you got there early enough, which not many people went to those games, but you'd park like in the same area as the players would be parking, and Laura Harvey would just be like sitting on one of those tables in like the little pavilion out in Starfire, and Megan Rapinoe would like, would wave at me because we ran into her enough times. And one of the times we came to the game early and I saw Megan Rapinoe, like, I don't know, she got there early and she saw some kid practicing on one of the fields by
Mhm.
himself. And she goes over there and starts like, she's like, hey, can I like practice with you for a bit? Because it was too early to like practice with the rest of the team still, because they hadn't all showed up. So she's like over there, Megan Rapinoe. This is like, this is like the first year of the league. So she's over there like kicking this freaking ball with this like kid, just practicing, I guess. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing because I was just like, I don't like, does this kid know who she is? Because I don't know. In Seattle, sometimes it seems like maybe the pulse is it was at least back then. It definitely wasn't on with who Megan Rapinoe was. It's been crazy to see her like career and the popularity and celebrity just like build and build and build because I think we've always known it's there for anyone who's followed it for so long.
Yeah.
Because I went to a Sounders match, I think like right before they sent off them for the Olympics or like something like that, maybe the World Cup the next year, whatever year it was. But like they had a booth set up for a Sounder player, like meet and greet, and then they had Megan Rapinoe at her own little booth. And I told the story many times, but it's very funny. And like they had like a huge line for like this former Sounders player. And Megan Rapinoe is just at her booth by herself, like before the big fame, right? This would never happen now. But she's like sitting there at her booth by herself. No one's in her, like, there's no line. And she's got like her little signed pictures that she's like has them ready and signed already because she has nothing else to do. And she's like fanning them out and like organizing them on the table by herself. And then she like looks up and she like sees me and she like waves me down to like say hi.
She's like, okay,
Well, she
come.
knew me from the parking lot.
Yeah.
So she was just like, hey, like, how's it going? Like, it's good to see you. And like gave me like a little bro hug and like caught up with her and stuff. And I was like, this would never happen now, but it was really cool back then. I feel like Megan Rapinoe is such like a pinnacle point for me and like how I started feeling about the club and the women's soccer for sure.
Yeah. I don't have enough good things to say about her. Like she is just I miss her and I miss seeing her on the TV and miss seeing like the incredible like sound bites we would get
I
out of
know.
her.
I know. She's and
Like,
well, not only that, but like watching her play was just like unbelievable. I mean,
yeah,
maybe
I mean, she had the skills and she had the game to back
yeah,
up. Like, so everybody, talking shit about her,
yeah,
like saying like even Trump during the World Cup was like, well, win and then we'll talk about it. When we were talking about like they asked her, if you guys win and they invite you to the White House, would you go? And she's like, I'm not fucking going. And he responded, and they had like a little like weird battle during
yeah,
that World Cup. And it was incredible because like he said, well, win and then, then you'll see. And they went on and fucking won it.
yeah.
And she's like, here, see.
We could probably, I think we should do like an episode where we can like reminisce on like the U.S. women's national team, like moments in the
Yeah, I could go
past.
on
Yeah, because
forever.
I feel like,
I
yeah,
really
I feel like
could.
I could go on forever too. And maybe we can have some of those
We can put in the
episodes.
show notes to skip until the 30th minute
Yeah,
to
you can,
hear about what's going on.
yeah,
But
yeah. So I don't know. I guess wrap it
so you
up.
want to talk about the U.S. women's national team without Megan Rapinoe?
I mean, that's pretty much like that was. I feel like when I got into it, Megan Rapinoe was like between her and Abby Wambach and Alex Morgan. That kind of was. I don't want to talk about the other one. You can take a guess on who the other one is.
Well, she's doing great at coaching at TST. So
Yeah. Well, isn't she? Is she playing?
no, she's coaching.
I thought she was playing. Okay.
No, she's one of the two coaches for the U.S. women at TST.
Lucky them. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I don't really know much there more is to say about the U.S. national team. They kind of speak for themselves. As far as me and the Rain, I feel like they're like my team.
Yeah,
I
same.
followed them from the beginning. I love everything that they're about. I think, they've had a couple of hiccups with some stuff that's happened. The coaching situation they had a couple of years ago, wasn't a fan of that. And then I also really hated how they let go Sydney LaRue. But
Yeah.
overall, I think you can get a pretty good sense of what the club is about and how they take care of their players. And the fans are very welcoming. If the results aren't always there, we do compete. Ever since the first year, we've always competed. And the fans that have stuck around, I think, really realize how special the team is. I don't think it's a coincidence that, we had Rapinoe there as long as we did, along with Fishlock and Lou Barnes. It's just, I don't know. I think it's one of the most special clubs that you can possibly follow in the league. And I know that whenever we do win, find the championship, it's gonna be so, so sweet.
I will definitely close a chapter in my life book when that happens.
Yeah, I know. It will happen someday. I don't know when, but I guess maybe I want to talk a little bit about like why we started the podcast.
Yeah.
At least for me, since I don't live locally, it's nice to like have somewhere to chat about this because I don't get to meet up with fans on the regular. And I think, when people have podcasts like this, it's usually something where you can kind of feel connected with other fans and kind of just hear different people's opinions, voices, whatever, and just like maybe things that they saw in the games.
Yeah. I mean, we were always talking about how there was like a
Hmm.
void. There was Coffee and Valkyries, which was
Hmm.
a part of Sounder at Heart that Susie did an excellent job with.
And Jacob.
And Jacob, yep. And loved that. And then, but those were always so sporadic.
It wasn't a weekly thing, so
Yeah, but it's just basically like for me, I was like, well, I was so frustrated that there wasn't one. Then I was like, well, why don't I get the white man audacity to
yeah, why not us?
yeah, why not us? Why not us? It's like it has been a learning
Yeah,
curve.
I'm like having to analyze the team in ways that I never have. And again, I'm not like a soccer brain, right? Like I didn't grow up watching it, but I do love talking about the sport. So it's been fun for me to kind of look at it from a different perspective and trying to break down things that happen. We're not experts, but I think that's kind of the joy of fan podcasts is it's
Yeah.
relatable.
Yeah, you get to have your own like fantasy team
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
within it. Like, well, I would do this.
It's not like the most serious thing in the world. We're trying to have fun.
Yeah, have fun,
That's the point of sports.
follow our team, and try and get more people interested because
Yeah.
the games, the play, everything is with this team is fun to watch. The results aren't great this year, but they're
They're
trying.
trying. They are
We love
trying.
when they try.
It's not for lack of effort,
Yeah.
you know.
People need to pay attention.
Yeah, I think we've been a little frustrated, obviously, as fans who followed from the beginning about the lack of like seeing the same support. You know, we have our rivals and you see what happens when you go to their games and then we come up here.
Well, to be fair, there's nothing else to do in Portland.
That's really true because I mean it's true though. Like Seattle's we've got how many professional sports teams happening in one weekend sometimes?
Yeah, well, now there's a cricket team too. Cricket, rugby, football, baseball.
There's always stuff happening in Seattle, like music, whatever. We have like several venues, so there's like always stuff happening, and you're the team's fighting, for that attendance, and the product's there. If you go to the games, they're a lot of fun. Fans are really great. It's just I remain perplexed about why the attendance isn't always higher. I'm hoping doing something like this will kind of get people more into it and maybe hear some more about some of the players and their backstories, because we kind of try to stay in tune with a lot of that stuff. I don't know. I think it's just like want to get people excited about it.
For sure. Yeah, because it is fun. I mean, it's fun to be a part of something, and like even though we're not a part of the club in general, like they do a really good job of making us feel like we're a part of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what I really enjoy about the Reign organization.
Absolutely. I think they got something to be proud of. I'm hoping that once the sales get completed, things will be a little bit easier on
the speculation runs wild. What will happen?
Making changes for the team to get better. But I think people the fans need to stick with it. You need to show up. The players, they've all got personalities. They've got some very funny personalities.
What? Women have personalities?
I know. It's like it's not something you get like all the time when you watch men's sports.
No, that's not.
They don't make like a ton of money. I mean, a lot of them can make do and find sponsorships or whatever, but like they're doing this because they love the game and in a way that doesn't like come with millions and millions of dollars. So hopefully this isn't a bad place for people to come to and feel like they're I don't know what's the word, like in touch with the rest of the fans community.
Yeah.
I guess now that you guys know a little bit about our backgrounds, let's get into what has happened.
Yeah, so we played 2 games against South Korea.
We won 2 games against South Korea.
Sure did.
Hayes is finally in charge. Emma Hayes is finally in charge.
Yep, the Emma Hayes era begins. Her selections for this camp to me seemed pretty logical. There wasn't anybody, honestly, like the players left out from the Reign roster who have been national team players before, talking about Sofia Huerta, Alana Cook, both not on the roster for this camp, which honestly, from their recent performances with the Reign is understandable. What do you think?
I think it's understandable. I know Alana Cook was kind of dealing with like she had the flu.
Yeah, there's some health issues going on.
There's some health issues, so I don't know that it's totally shocking. And her performances haven't been as great as you would like. The roster is so slim that you can bring for the Olympics that I don't think she had the room to bring her.
Yeah.
And then Huerta is fighting for a position that it's going to be hard to break into that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know. I think it might be different if the Reign were getting results and you were seeing them showcasing everything that they have every single week with good results, but that's not happening. So it's you look at the teams and players that are getting called in. It's the teams that are at the top of the league. You want players that are winning, finding ways to win, and that's not happening for the Reign right now. At least for the U.S. players, just doesn't make sense maybe to call them up right now.
Yeah.
But I think Emma Hayes is she's not fucking around.
No, she's not.
Didn't see that, I would say, with Vladko.
He was fucking around. He was 100% fucking around.
Yeah, I watched the interview with Emma Hayes after the second game.
Yeah, the post-game presser.
Really good interview. I thought it was funny because she had a quote in there about, when she made the second amount of subs, and the subs coming on were just like a lethal arsenal of forwards. It's like, why, like you're down a few goals already at South Korea, and then you look over and you see who Emma Hayes is bringing on.
She brought on Mal Swanson, Sophia Smith, and Trinity Rodman in the 62nd minute.
And I guess Emma Hayes said, I gotta put the pedal to the metal. And her like assistant coach or whoever it was like, don't ever say that again. She's like, I'm just trying to embrace the American culture. And I was like, I mean, that's exactly what it was, putting the pedal to the metal. Because like that front three looked so freaking good.
They look, yeah.
For three players that don't play for the same club team to finally be looking like
Mhm.
that, it's a dream.
That yeah, they have a connection. No, there's no way you don't bring those
Yeah.
three. But the Olympics roster, 18 players can go, and then I think you get three alternate. World Cup roster is
Okay.
23. So you got a five player buffer with the World Cup roster. So they're trying to get it changed. There's been a lot of arguments in regards to like player health and safety with 18 players, just because you're gonna have a lot of players getting a lot of minutes in a small amount of time. But yeah, so we've got that first game 4-0 win, right?
Yep. Two braces. Brace from maybe the most unexpected person, Tierna Davidson, to kick off Pride Month.
Our new gay icon,
And she's been my gay icon, to be fair.
also married to a goalkeeper.
Goalkeeper Nation. Yeah, that floating header that she got,
Ah,
so
so
good.
good.
And that was that Macario had the service on that, which is somebody who
Mhm.
I am excited to finally see again because I feel like Macario was like the player that I was like, this might be the person we can put in and not feel like we're missing something when we lose Megan Rapinoe.
Right.
You know, her recovery was long, really long, but as we've seen with ACLs,
That was a testament to Emma Hayes, though, like because at Chelsea, where Macario tore ACL, Emma Hayes gave her the time,
yep,
renewed her contract
yep,
because she was out for almost 2 years recovering from the ACL, and just gave her the faith and confidence that she would have a place when she came back, and she did, and absolutely killed it for Chelsea when she came back.
yeah.
I think that that's a testament to Emma Hayes and her just knowledge of players and just the ability to know that when they come back, they will be good, and giving them that time to actually recover and not putting them into, re-injure their hamstrings like the Sounders do.
Emma Hayes is, from what it seems like to me at least, she's done a pretty good job at trying to understand the sciences behind all these ACL tears and injuries that plague the sport of women's soccer. So I'm really hoping that she's gonna help us with that, as far as like she's been talking about like travel can affect things and play time after travel. And, when they play these international camps, it's like they're playing all over, right? It's not they're
Yeah.
just staying in one place and they're coming from somewhere far because this country's so freaking big. It's going to be, I think, a change for her to have to deal with that. A
Mhm.
lot of people that have been getting called up are mostly playing in the NWSL, but there are people from, the European League that she's been bringing in too. So she's gonna have to manage that. But I do feel good about her being able to, know the talent that we have, and if they're coming back from something major, give them that confidence to get back in with this team.
There's a really good book that I read. It's called Up to Speed: The Groundbreaking Science of Women Athletes by Christine Yu. They actually had it at my local library.
Oh,
Just kind of goes into the science that's been done throughout history with women athletes and kind of the roadblocks it's faced, and how, most sports science has always been done around men,
mm-hmm.
but kind of goes through that, and then kind of the current, because I think this book came out last year, but kind of the current state and the direction that the science is going. But definitely recommend the read. Good
Okay.
book.
Maybe I'll check that out. Let's see if it's on was it Libby?
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyways, more of the game. Two headers from Tiana, which I went and looked at the height. I know you always hate the height thing, but I did go look at the height of like the defenders for South Korea because I feel like this used to be part of our game
Yeah.
for the US is just
Cross
like
it to the tall girl.
Abby Wambach, like whole career could have just been off of headers. And the heights, it's kind of hard to find info a lot of times on certain teams that they just don't report very well on. But from what I could find, the defenders that were in when Tierna was playing, tallest ones seemed to be 5'8", and we had 5'4", 5'7", and 5'5".
And Tierna Davidson is 5'10". There's an advantage there.
I think it's one of those things where you look at who you're matching up against. Obviously, if you're playing Sweden,
How tall is the goalkeeper? How tall was the goalkeeper for
I think she was also
South Korea?
5'10".
Oh, was she? Okay.
Yeah. So she was, size, she had some size, but like the second one that she headed in was she just like, dinked it
Yeah.
down into the ground. Just like there was nothing you could really do about that. And that was service from Mal Swanson on that one, off of a corner, which again is something that Emma Hayes talked about, is trying to get these goals from set pieces and corner kicks and all that stuff. And we got two of those at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's been an underutilized part of the U.S. national team game for the entire time that Vlatko was in. That's also something that the Reign need to figure out.
The second brace from the game we had was so second brace was Mallory Swanson. Really good passing to find her. I mean, obviously she had to finish them, but the passing is the kind of stuff that I feel like we've been missing.
Yeah, it just looked creative and it looked really crisp, if I do say so.
Thank you, Van Crisp. I don't know. I mean, they talked about this camp. They were just like learning a lot. And I think it's pretty obvious when you see stuff like this, just like finding ways to get these passes in through defenders. And chemistry just seems so huge to me with these goals.
Yeah.
And that is like what I'm most excited about because it's felt like this team has looked stale. They haven't looked inspired. They haven't looked like they're having fun. And now they do. It feels like it happened overnight. And I mean, I feel like they were just kind of like slogging through things. That's how it looked to me before. They were just kind of going through the motions. They knew they were good, but they weren't taking control of games like they used to. And the goals for Mallory Swanson were the kind of goals I was hoping to see us score. The headers and off set pieces and corners, I'd love seeing that too, because we need to be doing that as well. But these goals specifically are what I feel like is the US is known for.
Yeah. That game ended 4-0. Do you have any other takeaways from that game?
Sophia Smith looked great.
Yeah. We've been talking about for a long time, like if she could just do what she does at Portland for the national team, she'd be a star. But that's never really translated. But it feels like
not consistently.
Yeah, it feels like that might be changing, which I'm stoked about. Score all the goals for the national team and just keep them for the national team. Don't score any more for Portland.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? I mean, maybe she'll get traded for a lot of money and then she won't be playing for Portland anymore. That'd be great. But yeah, I thought she looked great. She has been taking at least 2 balls, I think, off of defenders and created some good chances. And her linking up with Trinity Rodman like that is so deadly for defenders.
Like we have for the first game, Rodman didn't make the score sheet, but definitely makes an impact on the game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And she's just so dominant. She's physical. She can keep the ball at her feet. She's fast.
She's super dynamic and like she tries stuff and she like has a technique and finesse with it that is just like so refreshing to see someone trying. Yeah, I love watching her play. It's really too bad that the Reign have not found a way to stop it, but I get why. I get why.
Yeah, that's a hard one to stop.
Yeah. So let's go into the second game. I think that kind of wraps up the first game. Second game is in Minnesota.
Crystal Dunn starts at forward, which has been something Woso Twitter has been asking for years. Scores a goal in 13th minute off a great cross from Nicewanger, right? I think it was Nicewanger. Hey, I got the game pulled up. Hold on. Yeah, so Crystal Dunn starts at forward, scores in 13th minute, assisted by Jenna Nicewanger, who she's a weird one for me because I feel like she leaves a lot of space in the back and often gets just absolutely blazed past. But on the attacking side, she's great. Her services into the box are good. She's always productive and dangerous when she makes it up there. But anytime we have like some sort of dysfunction in the back, it's usually because of her. So hit or miss for me. But so Dunn gets a goal. Then we put all of those 3 absolute bangers in the 62nd minute. And then Lily Johannes comes in, right? 16 years old, has a choice to play between us and the Dutch team.
Well, not yet. She's getting her citizenship and then we'll soon have the choice.
But she comes in. She got called in for the last camp, but didn't play. Fine. Yeah, finally gets minutes. Comes in the 72nd minute. Her first touch on the ball is like this half volley pass that just looks so calm, composed, so good. A couple minutes later, she gets the ball kind of around center circle and plays this just brilliant through ball over the top to Trinity Rodman. Like, just the vision for that, the weight of the pass was so good. And I was just like, oh, okay, she's the real deal. And then a couple minutes later, gets on the end of one and scores. Dream debut.
Absolutely. I can't think of the words to say other than Emma Hayes. You better make sure she stays with the US because I
put her on the plane. Put her on the plane.
Put her on the plane.
DeMarcus Beasley said it.
How many caps do you have to have before you can because you can only switch at some for a little bit. Emma, you need to lock that down, Emma Hayes, because that's like the future of this midfield.
For sure.
I can't she's gonna be 17 this next week or something like that.
Yeah.
Wild.
I mean, and you look at her and you're like, oh, that's a child. But
she's tall. She's taller
She
than
gets
me,
the ball
but yeah, the composure, the skill with her
and the
passing.
confidence. And then hearing Emma Hayes talk in the presser after that game about it and about how the team has embraced her,
Oh yeah.
I was just like, I heard that. I watched like the first 5 minutes of that presser and I was like, oh, we're winning the Olympics.
Yeah, I definitely when the Hayes thing got announced and then we knew when she was actually going to come in was after Chelsea and all that stuff. I said to you, I was just like, this is a great hire. I'm glad they're taking her time with her. Like she's gonna have her time to like finish up with Chelsea and like wrap things up. And then like whatever happens at the Olympics happens. I wasn't gonna put too much of like a emphasis on like going out and winning it like we usually would. But this team and Lily Johannes, like maybe I go win it. Why not? Like go get your first trophy of this new era. I don't see why they can't do it. They look so good. I mean, we'll see what they look like when they're playing. I don't know who's going to be in the Olympics this year. They're gonna have some. They're gonna have some.
The teams that are in the Olympics.
Yeah, they're gonna have some. They're gonna definitely have some stuff for competition. So
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen this squad with Emma Hayes against, a top 10 team.
yeah, but Emma's very aware of that they have not done that, and it is going to be very different when that
Mm-hmm.
happens. And I have confidence and faith in her already, I would say, to figure that out.
I'm just going off vibes.
Yeah.
And the vibes right now for the national team
So
seem
good.
exceptional.
She seems like she's having a great time.
I know.
She said in her interview, she's like, I haven't stopped smiling since I've been here.
I know. And then talking about being in Colorado and it was all rainy, she was like, it felt like home. And I was like, girl.
That was in Minnesota. I think she said that in Minnesota because she said
Uh,
she was too hot in Colorado.
oh, that's right. She was too hot in
She's like, I
Colorado.
was
Yeah.
sweating in Colorado, and then I went to Minnesota, and this is great.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm just going off vibes, which I feel like has worked in the past with the national team, they're winning it.
Yeah, I
I'm
think the
calling it
U.S.
now. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, call it now. I do think the US does better. The vibe, like you have to go by vibes with this team. Because once they're clicking, like you have that, the rest just comes with it because they've got the talent. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
The vibes with Vodko were not there.
No, that was vibeless.
That's right.
Non-existent. The only vibes were bad ones coming from freaking Carl. Someone giving her a
We'll
mic.
bleep that. Maybe we should bleep her name whenever it comes up. Two mentions. I don't know. I'm so stoked about it.
Yeah, I mean, so Lily Johanna scores. Sophia Smith scores.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Which the Sophia Smith goal was kind of how like a lot of stuff has been happening with Trinity Rodman like winning the ball out from a defender and then just pushing forward.
Yeah.
And then it was like Swanson, so Trinity Rodman to Swanson to Smith.
Yeah.
It's so nice and fun to watch.
I love it.
And
It
then
is
on
my
the angle on that goal too.
Oh, yeah. She takes a touch and I'm like, there's no way. I thought she was gonna cut it back to
Yeah, me
somebody
too.
like on
Me
the penalty
too.
spot.
Yeah,
But no, she's like, no, it's mine. She just slots it in. I'm just like, excellent.
super great.
I would like to see Jaden Shaw in with two of them, probably Trinity and Swanson. I think that she would be a good addition in that mix to give some rest, but I think she still looks good. I think you still bring her for the Olympics.
What 18 are you bringing if you got to choose goalkeepers? Who you bringing?
Alyssa Nair and Aubrey Kingsbury. I know that Casey Murphy had a really, really good game, but I still like Kingsbury for her distribution. And I think that her positioning is better.
I mean, hopefully Nair's healthy. We don't have to really even.
Yeah. If Nair's not healthy, you bring Kingsbury and you bring Casey Murphy. Defense, I'm bringing Tierna Davidson, Emily Falk, Naomi Gurma, Emily Sonnet, Sam Staub, who I thought played really, really well in that last game, and Jenna Neiswanger.
Yeah. Who's that leave out?
On defense, Casey Kruger.
Yeah.
I just, in those two games, if we're going off that, I just didn't see enough.
Which, not necessarily her fault.
No.
It is, playing time's just hard to get, especially with a roster of 18.
Yeah, that's the hard part. In the midfield, I'm bringing Lizzie Horan, Rose Lavelle, Sam Coffey, Corbin Albert, and Lily Hannes. You have to. You have to. I mean, the kid's a star.
Yeah. Get her that experience. Get her there on the plane. She's actually not even going that far because it's in France, right?
Yeah.
she's got to go.
She's got to go.
She's got to go there.
And with all this shit with Corbin Albert, we don't know what's happening. We don't know the internal conversations that happened around that after, it came out that she liked TikToks and tweets talking shit about Megan Rapinoe and wanting Megan Rapinoe to be injured and, all this weird MAGA shit. But I mean, if you want to win games, I think she's a solid person to have in.
As two gay people.
But it doesn't seem like
who love Megan Rapinoe.
It doesn't seem like she's killing the vibes.
Maybe she's learning something. We don't know.
We got, sometimes you have to give space for people to learn. So if that's what's happening, good for her. Up front, I'm bringing Mal Swanson, Kat Macario, Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, and Jaden Shaw. And I think that Shaw might get swapped out probably to bring Alex Morgan.
Yeah.
Just because there's not a whole lot of seniority on the team.
There's not, no.
Right. So I think that might be important. But out of Swanson, Macario, Rodman, Smith, Jaden Shaw is the obvious swap there. So that's my 18 that I would bring. Is there anything that you would do differently with that lineup?
Well, it's interesting you left off Dunn.
Yeah, I did.
What's the reason behind that?
I just think that in this size roster, if they want to play her up top, which it seems like in the system that they're currently playing, that's where she would go. There are better options.
Okay.
Sure, she scored a goal in that second game. It was a pretty easy tap in. Wasn't anything really incredible. And she lost juice. She's not as fast as the other 3, 4. And I don't think we need her at outside back anymore. And one of the reasons that you would bring a player like that is, yes, because they're versatile, but at the same time, I just don't think that there's a critical role for her to play on the team.
I think that's fair. We all know she did not have the best World Cup, and that was in the defensive position, but I think you're onto something with, how our front 3 is looking without her starter out of those 3 with Trinity, because she'd play where Trinity plays, right? I'm picking Trinity every time, but I guess the question I would have is you want somebody who has depth. Maybe that's the veteran you bring instead of
Jaden Shaw.
Yeah, so you talked about bringing Jaden Shaw, and that was between Jaden Shaw or Morgan. I would be would you bring Dunn instead of, I think that would be the 3 I would be considering. That, or you swap in Dunn with the nice Swanger or Staub in the defense. I have a hard time believing that Emma Hayes isn't going to bring her because of their history.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not Emma Hayes. That's the 18 that I picked.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a prediction. I mean, and I can see how somebody with more knowledge of the team, like the head coach would make different decisions. But from my outside perspective, that's the team that I would want to see play.
I'm sure some people will have their own thoughts about that, not including Dunn. Are we at that point with her? I don't know. How old is she?
Probably younger than me.
Oh, she's 31. Damn.
Yeah, up there.
Well, but that's not that high up there. She'll be 32 in July. For the forwards that we have, I just don't. It's interesting that Emma Hayes put her in that forward role, and now we're kind of in a situation where do we need to think about her in that light?
So that's the other question, because are they looking to bring her in as a versatile player and have her be able to come in a supporting role in the back line? Or are they going to ultimately only play her up top?
I could see her going wherever is needed. Maybe it's one of those situations where someone's a little bit injured or something happens, and then she can slide in no problem. And that's not just the forward, right? That's defense as well. And that's something that I think you could rely on her for. But she was getting cooked in the World Cup.
I just don't.
If there was 19 players you could bring, I think it's a given. Bring her.
I might bring Alex Morgan. I'm just not hot on it right now as a personal feeling, just with what I've seen, league play, national team play.
She did just score for Gotham.
So
it's a no for you.
Yeah, it's a no from me right now with the Olympics 18.
Yeah, it's so few players that you're not looking at any 18 between, these extra few players on the outside. You're not looking at any 18 and being I don't feel confident in this just because we're missing one of these players. Yeah. Alex Morgan is not going to be the reason we don't go further, in my opinion.
Would you say the same thing about Crystal Dunn?
I think I would.
There we go. That's my feeling. And I can't say that about younger players, because I feel like there's just so much more room for growth, and for us to have our program become something bigger and move forward from this stalemate that we've been in. We have to bring in these younger players, get them these big tournament experiences for going forward, to the next World Cup.
I would also say that if I had to choose between the 2 at forward in a big competition, I'm picking Alex Morgan to maybe be off the bench.
Yeah, it's not an easy decision. And it's not that I don't like her as a player. I do, but I feel like I've made my points and they will be up for debate. But yeah, that's how I feel.
this Olympics is, it feels like it's on a whim, right? Like a little bit, right? Because like Emma has just got into the role and this is our first like big competition.
I also feel like it's like a bit of a redemption tournament. I really feel like as fans, we've seen how the team's been performing, and now we're going into this tournament on a pretty good high. And so we want to go and win this thing. I didn't go into the last World Cup thinking we were going to win it.
No, I don't think anyone who had been following the national team at that point thought that they had a chance. I think everyone was well aware that they were not the team that historically they maybe were going into a tournament like that.
I think this might be a redemption tournament, and hopefully they'll play that way.
But if you're gonna say that, I feel like you've got to bring some vets.
No,
You think all the young people understand what's? I mean, I guess Trinity, like a lot of these people didn't even get their chance, so they have something to prove and go in there, and maybe it's their time to finally show like you didn't play us last time, and now we're here, we're getting the minutes, we're starting, and we're gonna win the damn thing.
They were in the game, they were in the league, watching the game, seeing the rhetoric surrounding the last World Cup.
Yeah,
it pissed me off. I don't even have a chance of playing on the team. So imagine how they feel. Or these are their friends, these are their teammates. I would be, if I had to put money on it, I would say I've got 2 players wrong. Maybe 3. I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to add on the upcoming Olympics?
no, I don't think so, other than I'm ready. I'm feeling good about it. Going into this, I thought it was kind of just like, there's not like a ton of pressure to me on Hema Hayes to do well in this, like just because of how short she's been at the helm. I didn't have high expectations for this Olympics, but I think I do now. And I think she's capable of kind of surprising everybody and maybe just winning all of it.
As long as they compete. And that's really what was missing from the World Cup, is it felt like a lot like the rain feel right now, where like, do we even have what you need? Are you even trying?
Yeah. It almost seemed like they were just like, we've had the talent. It's gonna work for us, but we don't need to try that hard. We have faith that we'll get the result just because we always do. And that's not what you can get away with anymore with how good all the other countries are now.
Nope. So there's our national team wrap up. We're loving it. So we did play Ji So-yoon, who plays for South Korea.
She was having a great time playing against Iran.
I know.
I was loving that. I feel like she was trying to take the ball off of her a lot, and she did. And I mean, it was cool seeing her like link up with Hayes too. She seemed really excited to see her again after all their time together at Chelsea.
Yeah, she played well. In that second game, she had that free kick that Casey Murphy saved. But I was just like, dang, all right, she plays for us. Let's go. Jess Fishlock scored for Wales. Why can't she do that for us?
She must play like more attacking with them, right?
Yeah, she plays in the midfield with James Turner. They're the two center mids in their 4-4-2 lineup that Wales plays.
Fishlock's got more responsibility, obviously, with Wales.
Yeah.
Captaining them and all that stuff. So I feel like it just kind of comes with territory, and the way that Fishlock plays with that, attitude and mindset. When she goes and plays for Wales, it's like another version of Fishlock. Like all the versions are very great. There's something that comes out of her when she plays for Wales. That's like steps
Wales
up to like
Wales version
level.
of Jess Fishlock is not a little dragon. It's a big one. Canada played Mexico. Jordan Heidema played. There was a long ball that happened. Heidema's running up the left side of the pitch, and a Mexico defender just basically stopped and then bodied her off the sideline. That caused an uproar. People calling for a red card, blah, blah, blah. But it was an off the ball foul. And the definition of violent misconduct is very subjective. So I personally don't think that reached the limit to be a red card offense. I mean, it was pretty abhorrent. Also, I rewatched it multiple times and I'm wondering, how did she not just
she ran straight into her.
She ran straight into it. I don't know. I don't think it was a red. Because if you're calling that a red, you're gonna have that sets a precedent. That sets a precedent that I don't want to see in the game.
That's how I see it. I feel like you see plays like that and all the time. It's just like this one was just like the aftermath was so brutal.
Well, and especially since she had a broken back, came back from that, and then she gets bodied and lands hard. You have to be worried about that. And it wasn't a safe play, obviously. But I don't, for me, it didn't meet the threshold of violent misconduct for a red card.
People disagree. A lot of those people are Canadians. We can disagree. It's also like my player. So like, I try to look out for them. And to me, it wasn't worthy of a red. Other happenings from the week. How'd your team do?
We played on Wednesday, played Lane United, which is the team from Eugene, Oregon, our furthest opponent in our regional play, with the girls 1-8-0. Incredible. They didn't even play that well, which is terrifying.
Definitely the best. You definitely seems like you guys got the best setup in the region and in terms of recruiting and getting
Yeah,
people out there.
our sporting director, Chris Wells, he works for Seattle University, and he has a knack for bringing in just like good vibes. Because not only are the players very, very good, they're also just awesome people. And this is the second year in a row he's done it, so it can't be a fluke.
That's great. You got a new coaching change happening soon too.
Yeah, our head coach from the beginning of the season, Ben Willis, got pro job. He's going to be assistant coaching the new Lexington USL Super League team. So it's exciting for him. He left after our game on Wednesday to drive to Kentucky.
Damn.
That'd be really fun for him. I'm excited for him.
You got a Cox taking over,
Yeah,
right?
Raphael Cox. He's an assistant at University of Washington.
And does he have any relation to Steph
No.
Cox? Just coincidence?
Just a coincidence. He did win an MLS championship with RSL though.
He won the MLS Cup we
Yeah.
went to, the one in Seattle in
Yep.
2009.
The one where I was freezing my feet off. Yeah, it was
Were
so
you?
cold that day. Remember?
I don't
And then it
remember
went into
that.
overtime.
I don't
And then it was
remember being
penalty
cold.
kicks.
I must have been dressed fine because I don't remember being cold.
We
I do
d-
remember the
we did get to see Third Eye Blind.
I was gonna say I
though.
remember the Third Eye Blind concert. The not cover band of Third Eye Blind. It turned out to be actually Third Eye Blind that was
Yeah.
playing in the parking lot. That was so funny. So
Yes, that'll be a fun little change that's happening. I'm happy to be able to get somebody of his caliber in when, you have to make that kind of quick turnaround. And really thankful for Ben for giving us kind of a grace period. They wanted him down there in Lexington earlier. But he said, no, I got to stay and
wrap up.
wrap up. And that was really cool of him and super all respect to him. Like, guy's great. He's going to be really successful. Yeah. So we're going to play tonight. Hopefully that'll be good. One of our players is playing in the TST tournament.
And she scored.
And she scored an absolute banger. Riley, always with the bangers.
Halfway.
No, it was like past half field.
How big are those fields?
No clue.
They're a little bit smaller, but they're not that small. And the nets are smaller. Good for her.
Yeah, she just received it, like barely took a look. Turns.
She's representing the Angel City FC like team that they put together.
Mhm.
Oh man, yeah, that goal is so fun to see. Someone from Covington, Washington, doing that in a tournament that has like a bunch of former U.S. national players.
I just want her to get the due. Like, she's so due for some massive
Yeah.
recognition. She's such a good player, and I feel like she deserves much.
Someone's missing out.
Yeah, somebody's missing out. I almost like retweeted what the W League when they posted her goal, and I was almost like, if somebody doesn't pick her up, you're absolutely missing out. But I don't want her to leave us, so that's. I don't think I have.
I don't really have much more. One other thing I want to shout out is the Seattle Storm beating the Las Vegas Aces.
Suck it, Sarah.
That's sibling rivalry. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about the Storm, but we will keep it soccer related.
Go women's sports in Seattle.
Yeah, we're all about Seattle sports, especially. I need to get out to a Storm game really badly.
We should have another Super Sports Saturday.
Breaking my ankle, it's not ideal. So maybe once my ankles, I don't have the boot on anymore. And if you caught the last episode we did, I talked about these divots in my yard. I broke my ankle falling into one of those divots backwards.
Not funny.
So
Funny.
I talked about the divots. I was like, there's all these stupid divots in our yard. And, I moved in here and I remember looking at this yard and being like, this is going to be dangerous. And I was just pulling some big old weeds out and I stepped backwards in my fucking Crocs. Just rolled the shit out of my ankle and broke it. It was bad. Not as bad as my last ankle break, but it's not fun. So we're going to wrap this up. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Cooler Guild Pod. If you've got some suggestions, some helpful feedback, you can email us. We've got an email set up for that. thecoolerguild@gmail.com. If you liked our little theme song, we had Alex Juarez, shout out to him. Thanks for that. We can kind of see where all the listeners are. I don't know if all the stats are always accurate, but we can kind of see where people who are tuning into are listening from. We got some people out in California, not just like Seattle areas, California, Georgia, someone out in Boston, Spain. We're going international, baby. Spain, Canada, Norway. To me, it seems like this is what I was hoping for because not all these fans live in the area and we still want to get our fix of listening listening to, a podcast about this team, about the Reign mostly. I feel like once you follow the Reign, you're kind of in the women's soccer world and kind of just everything that comes with that. So we'll cover, stuff that seems relevant too.
All the social and the emails all in the show notes.
We added that there so you can find it easier. If you want to follow our personal Twitter accounts, I'm at the tallest Coop.
And I'm at Van Crisp.
Got anything else?
No, I think that'll wrap it up.
Yeah, sorry, we're a little delayed sometimes just because Van's got a very serious job. I also broke my ankle, which kind of put a damper on things, but we will promise to improve on getting to things. But I know when season starts kicking off for Van, it gets a little hectic.
Yeah, summer's a lot.
It's a summer season, so it's not going to last forever.
No, it's not.
All right. Well, this is another episode, a bonus episode of the Cooler Guild.
Thanks for listening. Also, I forgot to shout out Ron. He loves women's sports. And he said he's given me some really great feedback. And he said it means more because it comes from a white man.
Oh my God, Ron.
No, just kidding. I'm just
kidding.
Ron,
canceled.
Ron didn't say that.
Okay.
But that's how I feel. And I think it's really funny.
We haven't gotten a ton of feedback, but we've gotten some people. We're here to listen. We're here to improve. We'll learn this thing along the way. So just know that.
We're new. We're getting better.
What are you, new?
Yep. Sure am. All right. Till next time.
Bye.
Another 6 years. Yeah.